Any fisherman will tell you that that is probably the best noise that you can possibly hear. You're sitting on the boat or you're sitting on the dock, you're reeling in your personal best fish, you got your buddy recording it, and what are you wearing but some raggedy old t-shirt that looks like crap? Why have that incredible moment ruined by not having on the best high-performance fishing shirt that you can get? That's where our friends at Tackle Up come in. Tackle Up is a fishing lifestyle and apparel company that is making some of the finest, highest quality fishing shirts I have ever worn. Also, we may have a Talkin 215 exclusive shirt on their website that you definitely need to check out. TackleUp.com. We know a ton of you go down to the Delaware beaches during the summer season, so when you're down there, you have to head over to Bethany at the corner of Atlantic and Garfield and check out Tackle Up's new storefront location. Selling Grundens, Hoo-Rags, and of course, their incredible design of high-performance fishing shirts. Definitely check them out, and while you're there, tell them that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasato.
Talkin 215, back at it again. We got the coach and we got the doc in-house today. A little bit different from your area of expertise, but Sweet Shawnee is a little under the weather, so might be looking for his primary care doctor, but hopefully he will not require an orthopedic surgeon for a little post-nasal drip. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Doing good.
Excellent. Yeah, doing a lot better in the Phil's offense right now. Still the number one team in baseball, obviously, but even with them winning, this team, like Kyle Schwarber, has no idea that it's June. What, 1 for 17, 1 for 18 with a single?
One for his last 18, and that one is a single, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, after a May where he had a 300-plus batting average, you saw him just hitting the ball, spreading the ball all across the field. I think he only had, 3 home runs in May? 2 or 3, like it was a pretty low number, but when he's hitting 300 plus, you're pretty happy about that. You had a number of guys really have big months. Bryce Harper had a great start to the month. JT had an incredible month. Bohm was a little bit up and down. Stott started hot. Castellanos was coming out of his swing a little bit. Sosa was lighting the world on fire. And then June, they have started just pretty damn slow. If not for David Dahl, this offense would be anemic right now.
I mean, our runs produced the other night were Sosa and David Dahl, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, where's Harper? Where's Schwarber? Where's JT? Where are these guys at? I mean, we just talked about it. Schwarber 1 for his last 18. Bohm is hitting 180 in his last 15 games.
Yeah, it's not great.
On top of that. And I think I saw a stat that said we are 6 for our last 27 with runners in scoring position. But of those 6 hits, 2 of them were infield dribblers that did not produce a run.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the one in the first or the third inning today or whatever. We had David Dahl had the double, and then you had a swinging bunt over on the third baseline. He only gets over to third. Next guy grounds out, inning over.
So 4 for 27 with runners in scoring position. That's just horrific. It's terrible. And the Phillies have also lost their last 5, is it 4 or 5 extra inning games? And in those games, in 2 of them, they failed to produce a run even through the 11th inning.
Yeah.
So starting a ghost runner on second for 2 straight innings, and you still can't produce a run. It's been really bad with runners in scoring position. They're kind of cooling off. It's been rough.
Yeah. Doc, how are you?
I'm good. My dog is a little under the weather too. So.
Love it.
Hey man, it's that time of the year. We got a little 4-man crew tonight.
Looks better than Sean too, by the way.
Exactly.
Hopefully
handsome looking. Oh yeah. No, I mean, love to see the Phils rebound a little bit. Part of the problem though with them is this: they can't stay really healthy. I mean, you had Trey leave, and now Marsh is out, and now Ranger might be missing some time, and Cody Clemens is out, and you're just seeing these guys dropping like flies. And so, Doc, I kind of want to just throw it right over to you. We've talked a lot about hamstrings through a number of different players. Avonte Maddox is a guy we always talked about. Trey Turner is a guy now we talked about. Brandon Marsh, as those the injury when it seemed to occur was a little bit different because you saw him just drop. You saw him just all of a sudden round second base and just go down. So I was concerned it was something way more significant because, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the hamstring injuries that we see, it's kind of like, oh, they're kind of limping on it a little bit. It kind of is aggravating them. But I haven't seen too many of a hamstring injury where they just drop like that very acutely.
Yeah, the only time I've really seen that is in track and field when you get these sprinters and they just go and it goes down. And that's an intense run, which, more intense than doing baseball. You're not doing sprints in that regard. But I think the bottom line is, so it's just how you react to it. I think some people just think it's better if I just drop rather than try to stretch it out. And that may have just been a reaction. I mean, the interesting thing and the good thing, sorry about this, is the Jesus. Is that the
I thought that was the home plate umpire for a minute.
Yeah, they only put him on a 10-day IR. So
yeah.
I think that's promising. I think maybe, sometimes you look at these injuries and you're like, oh my God, that was horrible. And the actual result is not as bad as what it appeared to be. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Joel Embiid had a hyperextension injury. Everybody thought his knee was shot. Happened to Bryce Harper when he was with the Nationals. And I think it may have been part of the issue is he may have just hyperextended and had a nice pull on that hamstring and then just dropped him. But I'm hopeful that it's not. I mean, I look at the report a day later and them saying, he's day-to-day or in the 10-day IR, and I think that's better than putting him out longer. So I think there's hope that that's not as significant as it appeared to be.
Yeah. And then a guy that everybody obviously loves, the big Red Ranger, caught that line drive off his throwing hand, his thumb and finger there. Initial x-rays were negative. It sounds like they're going to be doing a bullpen kind of session here in the next couple of days to see if he's going to be able to throw the next game. Obviously, no broken bones is huge for a pitching hand and everything, but what kind of lingering soreness injuries could we expect to see on something like that? And is it going to affect him long term? Is it going to affect him short term? Is he going to have to be on like a pitch count or anything? What can we possibly expect to see here?
I mean, not breaking a bone is a significant thing, but there also is the soft tissue component. Yeah. It seems to me like where he got hit was sort of in a perfect spot in terms of not causing any long-term damage. I think long-term he's going to be fine from this. The question is, when's the best time to bring him back? And I agree. I think you have to kind of just see how he's throwing and stuff. And he's had 2 comebackers this year that have got, and that's always a possibility. So I think the bottom line is, I think he's going to be fine. If I was, assuming what I assume, I would probably hold him out till after they got back from London. I'd give him that time to rest it, maybe pitch him and stuff, but I wouldn't try to start him in the next week or so.
Wow.
Personally,
Now, when he does come back, should we see, any kind of restriction? Is this something that might swell up as the game goes on, as he uses it more, or if they bring him back, he should be good to go?
There may be that possibility, but I think honestly, you're not going to know till you get him out there. So I would be prepared to have a shorter outing, and I wouldn't push him in the later innings if he got. I mean, I would say, look, if we get 4 or 5 innings the first outing, that's fine. You don't want to push it to the point where he does have this injury linger and return. So I would definitely have him on a very, very short leash his first couple outings.
Nice. And then Cody Clemens on the 10-day with back spasms that seemed to kind of come up right before game time the other day. That's just something you kind of wait, right? There's PT, physical therapy, and you just kind of hope that they subside.
Sometimes people lock up, they call it. Their back just goes into spasm, and it seems horrific. But a lot of times it's just a question of getting the right treatment in there, and it usually goes away. Hopefully it's purely muscular, because that hopefully will go away. If it's something more significant, then this may be something that recurs, i.e. Melton with the Sixers, where it was like, oh, you're good. And then I hope that's not the case. And I don't think it is, because this came out of the blue, and it's probably a muscle spasm.
Yeah. No, exactly. Hoping that it can be a quick return, because look, we were seeing a lot of guys out there. Whit Merrifield spending way too much time in the starting lineup that he has absolutely no business being in. Coach, you got any other injuries or any other players that you have questions on?
No, I was thinking about it myself, not really. You touched on the Anthony Melton thing. I was just thinking about that because I see some Sixers fans like, oh, should we bring back Melton? Like, Doc, you could probably test that. Like, if you're having lingering back issues at that age, like, that's probably not a good thing, especially with the time he's missed. So It seems like the back isn't something to play with.
No, time and time again, and people don't realize this, but playing basketball, jumping, landing, loading, that's a lot of strain on the back. And especially you get in the later stages of your career, you're dealing with cumulative trauma. And some guys can never recover from that. Something that always causes problems. And I'm sure it's ended a lot of players' careers, especially in the NBA with the jumping and all that. So I would be the one advantage the Sixers had is they've been following him medically throughout last season. So
Yeah.
they know what they're getting. They're not getting sold a bill of goods. So if they make a play for him, then obviously his back is better. I'm a doubter at this point because he really didn't do anything significant in the second half of the season after that injury. So my gut feeling is he's probably going to be an X6.
Well, and in sports too, Doc, like your value to the team depends on the leeway with injuries, right? Like
Yeah.
if we're not talking about, prime LeBron or, Embiid here. Embiid, you can look past some of the injuries because, when healthy, what you're going to get from him, MVP level performance. But if you're like a 6th, 7th, 8th man off the bench and, you're just kind of a 3-and-D, run of the mill guy, I don't think that leash is as long if you have chronic back injuries.
No, it's nice to have, but if you can't rely on it, it's basically worthless. I mean, you can find somebody, people of that ilk are not rare jewels that you can't find. So I think that if there's any question, you go with the healthier player. So, and there's more of them. And, I think now, especially with the Sixers, ability and salary cap and all that, they can go shopping. And I think this is the time to do it. You don't want to stick with something that's damaged good.
No, exactly. Doc, on a strictly medical standpoint, LeBron James to the Philadelphia 76ers. Is that something that you'd sign off on? Strictly medical.
Strictly medical? Absolutely. That guy does not have a lot of long-lasting injuries. He doesn't have a huge history of injuries. He's an older guy. And my concern is more managerial than medical. I think that he would be a great asset to this team in terms of leadership, in terms of mentoring, and in terms of determination. That guy does not take a lot of time off. He's had injuries, but nothing really major. And you've seen him play. Even last year, he played great. So I would not be opposed to it from that aspect.
All right. And then the person that most of Philadelphia actually wants them to go after, Jimmy Butler, sprained right MCL. Is there any kind of hesitancy, apprehension with trading a boatload to get him in here?
Based on the fact that you have to trade for him, I'd be a little leery. But an MCL sprain is not a deal breaker in my opinion. That will heal. That does heal. And I think he does have a slightly more significant injury history, but he's a player and he's a gamer. My concern is what you have to give up to get him.
Yeah.
Because if you got him, like if he was in the same situation as LeBron, I'd say go for it in a heartbeat. But the fact you have to give them stuff.
I'd still probably rather go Jimmy Butler than Paul George. Like I'd rather give stuff to get Jimmy Butler. And again, it depends. Well, coach, it depends what you're paying Paul George. If you're paying him a 4 or 5 year max deal, like I don't want him.
But if you're trading for Jimmy and not giving him a max,
I'd rather have Jimmy on a max than Paul George.
So you got two guys on a max. We just talked to Doc about leeway with injuries. If you're giving up 4 first-round picks for Jimmy and he's a max, or you can get Paul George for a max and still keep all your picks to trade for someone else like
Jimmy Butler's better than Paul George.
But by how much?
I'd say
4 first-round picks worth better?
No.
Well, then that's
I wouldn't trade 4 first-round picks.
But it's the Miami Heat trading to an in-conference foe who you're going to see in the playoffs. You don't think that they're going to be
if Jimmy wants out, it doesn't you already know these players in the NBA. If they want out, they can dictate where they go. And if he really truly does want to come to Philly, and I haven't seen many reports being like, oh, Jimmy's already putting word out that it's Philly or bust. Like you're not seeing that. But let's say that was the fact. Let's say that happens. You've seen it in the NBA. Players just get dealt. If they pick where they get to go, especially guys with no trade clauses that can completely sign off on every single transaction involving them and everything. So if that was the case, I don't think you'd have to give up 4. Would you do 3?
No.
Would you do 2?
Yeah.
You do 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think kind of like Doc was hinting at, right? Like there's not that big of a difference between Paul George and Jimmy Butler. If you're giving both the max and you could have Paul George and keep all your picks versus Jimmy Butler and only have maybe 1 pick. Doc, how do you feel about that?
Give me Paul George 2 years.
Yeah, the issue with Paul George is he has a more significant injury history. So I don't know how much is left in the tank with him. But if you're not giving up any picks, I'd give up the least. I wouldn't want to mortgage my future on either of these guys.
Doc, I'm going to need you to I'm going to ask you a medical question about my brain, because I don't know how much more it can handle about Sixers talk, because I feel like every offseason we talk about what players we're going to get, what players we're going to trade for, what we're going to do, and we become the Dallas Cowboys in the postseason. You know, just a great regular season, individual records, all pro, all-star accolades, and then playoff time comes around and it's like, we didn't play our best, but well, guess what? If you don't play your best in the playoffs, you're going home. So I don't know how much more my brain can take of what ifs on the Sixers. You see every scenario. The Sixers are in on Paul George, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Lauri Markkanen, Mikal Bridges. We're in on every player on the planet, okay? But there's such a realistic scenario where Paul George resigns with the Clippers. Yeah. LeBron James stays with the Lakers. Jimmy Butler gets a contract from the Heat.
Well, LeBron's going wherever Bronny gets drafted. Like, let's be honest here. LeBron's going whoever
said he was working out for two teams, the Suns and the Lakers, maybe, or something like that.
Who, Bronny?
Yeah.
Well, he can work out with whoever team. It's whoever picks him. He ain't a free agent.
Do you know how much of a cult what the city of Philadelphia would do if, let's just say, at pick 16, you take Bronny James and LeBron's like, I want my son to have his own legacy. I'm staying in LA.
Oh, that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. I'm moving as far away from my son as possible.
I think that would be the worst thing. It would be prototypical Philly, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. At Delaware Orthopedic Specialists, you're never left in the dark. Not only are they the only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, all of their providers are also specialists, which means that they're focusing on each and every part of the body specifically, so that when you come in with knee pain, you're getting a doctor specifically devoted to that. Wrist pain, wrist doctor, foot pain, foot doctor, so on and so forth. Why would you go anywhere where you're just going to get a general doctor that knows overall body when you can get somebody that knows the ins and outs of your exact injury? They're going to hold your hand and walk you through each and every step of the process so that you won't have any questions and you'll know exactly what you should be expecting. My family and friends trust DOS, and you should too. Give them a call at 302-655-9494 or head on over to delortho.com. Let them know that Talkin 215 sent you. And after they give you phenomenal care, head on over to Google, give them a great review.
I think the difference is between the previous Sixers team and this is I think now we have a decent coach. I think Nurse is a much better coach. So I think that, it was a shame that Joel got hurt, and I think that affected. I think I even told you I thought they would beat the Knicks with a healthy.
Well, the officials stole the series in that game too.
Yeah, but
I mean that's a series ender right there. They have essentially made it a best of 5 series for the Knicks and a best of 9 series for the Sixers.
Agreed, but I think that the difference between now and previous years is I think they've got the coach right now. Now they got to get the pieces around it and let him coach. I think if they do that and they get a full season and a healthy Embiid for the majority of it, mainly in the playoffs, I think they make a run. I think they can beat any team in the East with the possibility. I think the Celtics are another level, but other than that, I think they can hang with anybody else with a healthy Embiid and a Maxey that hopefully progresses.
Yeah, I mean, Maxey, if he continues on this arc that he's on right now, I mean, he's going to be first team All Pro. Like he's so incredible. What did we miss, Coach? What we miss?
I know who Jake's a big guy of.
Alec Bohm, Doc.
Jake is a big Bohm guy.
Doc, all I'm saying is I'm glad you're on the line here because they say consult a doctor if you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. Well, I've had a rock hard Bohmer since 2020. I don't know what to do.
You need to go to the hospital for that one.
Look, if you listen to the podcast, you're wondering why there's not so much blood flow going to my brain when you listen to me talk. But Alec Bohmer. All right, back to the Sixers. Look, I think the best thing that you guys said was, Coach, you were like, oh, the Sixers are on Lauri Markkanen, LeBron James, Paul George, Mikal Bridges. They're in on everybody. There's another team in Philadelphia that you always say that. It's the Eagles. It's always, Howie Roseman's in on everybody. He's making that phone call for everybody. But how much more confidence do you have in Howie Roseman than you do in Daryl Morey? Like, we're talking about it in the Sixers like it's a terrible thing. Like, man, every name we got to be involved in. And the Eagles were like, oh, hell yeah, Howie's going to make the right move. I don't think any of us could say one really significantly good thing about Daryl Morey. I'm certainly not confident in him. I love the coach. I love Maxey. I would really hope that they can bring back Kelly Oubre. Like, I hope, Nicholas Bathreem. He's not Batum because he's dropping threes. Bathreem the dream. Like, there's a couple of guys, maybe not Batum. I mean, it was a fun play-in game, but let's be honest here. But like, there's guys that we like, but I certainly have zero faith in Daryl Morey to right this ship with the amount of cap space that we have.
Well, yeah.
But he's got us out of a terrible jam. I mean, he did get rid of Ben Simmons, and I'm going to give him credit for that, because even though we got Harden and it ended poorly, it was a great move on our part. And now we do have
I
assets.
love the Tyrese Halliburton, but again, nobody really knew that. You know what I mean? Like, at the time, it wasn't a huge like, oh, what a miss.
And he actually wasn't great through the entire playoffs. I mean,
no,
he didn't
wasn't.
have a great series agaast the Knicks. So I mean, it's not like he was a killer. And I think that, now that
the series than James Harden had.
I think this is the year where we determine what kind of a GM he is, because he has money, he has assets. This is where you earn your money.
Coach, didn't they just extend him?
Yeah, I think they did. Didn't they do like a 2-year extension on Morey?
Yeah, like, why not until after this year?
Yeah, he should have waited a year. I would have waited a year.
Because what happens if that doomsday scenario, like I talked about, all those guys resign? And this will never happen, but
no, I would like that. I want to keep our max slot for next year when better players are available in free agents.
I'm processed out, right? Like,
but it's like, do you have to sign a max player because you have a max slot? Like, why waste a max slot when you're like, man, next year's max guys are going to be a hell of a lot better than this year's. I don't even have the whole list. I'm going to pull it up. The 2025 NBA free agencies.
But no, I agree. Like, if you could trade some of those picks for Laurie, who's only due $17 million, and then that's your big three, Laurie, Embiid, and Maxey, then you could put pieces around it like a Batum, like a Oubre, like guys like that, and just find like a shooter, too.
Guys,
like,
Markelle Fultz is available.
He's available this year, I think, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Look, if you're talking about a max slot,
Fultz and Jimmy Butler back on the Sixers, and we're going to praise Daryl Morey for signing these guys 5 years later after you got rid of them. Oh, God. Oh, no, Jake, but to your point, I trust Howie Roseman with Dan, to be honest. There's nobody in sports that I know of that corrects their mistakes better than Howie. And I think a lot of people get that, confused, right? They're like, Howie can do no wrong. No, Howie can do wrong. Howie
done wrong.
Howie drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, but then he turned that mistake into A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles probably don't win the Super Bowl had they not done that.
Exactly. He paid.
Wait, that was post Super Bowl. They probably don't go they probably don't have this kind of success and be in the position. We don't have Jalen Hurts.
Well, he paid Carson Wentz after all those injuries and how he was never right again. That was a mistake, but he had an insurance plan with Jalen Hurts. Some people may say that was luck more than anything, foresight, whatever. But the thing is, it's just like one of those things where, like, if you upset your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, and she's mad at you, Howie goes to the store, gets flowers, buys her dinner, everything, like within 5 minutes. He doesn't wait till she cools down. He doesn't wait a couple weeks. He doesn't give her time. No, he's like, oh, I messed up. I'm going to fix this. I messed up. I'm going to fix this. Yeah. And then you look at Tennessee, who traded us A.J. Brown for a first and a third. They thought that drafting Treylon Burks was going to be their answer to it.
Yeah.
Their coach today just did a press conference talking about he's being a gunner on special teams, and he has to work for reps. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, like, I trust Howie that even if he doesn't get it right the first time, he's so stubborn that he's going to do everything he can to correct even his own mistakes. And I think that's pretty valuable.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I think he's evolved through the years. I mean, I think he's matured in some of his decisions, particularly with the draft. He's no longer trying to find the guy from Saginaw State, and he's going for guys that are in your top teams in college. I think he's gotten a lot smarter with the draft.
Yeah, you see him taking his shots in day 3 as opposed to day 1 and day 2.
Which is the way it should be. And I think the other thing you notice is, Hassan Reddick was let go, and now you see he's not reporting to camp, and maybe there's a little bit more to that story than we were told. And I think that people are always saying, well, why did they let it? There had to be. And Howie, 7 years ago, I would have totally questioned that move. Now I'm like, there must be something else to that story. Yeah. And he's earned that respect, in my opinion, by what he's done in the past,
Yeah.
7
And I
years.
mean, I always say with the Hassan Reddick thing, like I really wanted them to keep and really wanted them to figure it out. But then when it was posed to me as, all right, well, would you accept a trade of Bryce Huff and a 2nd round pick for Hassan Reddick? Because like you can theoretically be like, well, that's what we got. Like obviously we signed Bryce Huff in free agency, but like let's say he hits all of his checkpoints, you get a 2nd round pick for him, and just say it like, oh well, we got Huff and a 2nd round pick from the Jets, and they got Hassan Reddick. So wouldn't you not hesitate to take Huff and a 2nd round pick in a trade for Hassan Reddick? Like obviously there's people be like, well, you could have Huff and Reddick and just be out a 2nd round pick. Like you can always think about it that way, but it's just you'd be running out of room here soon.
Look at it this way. So first of all, I don't know if you guys saw Robert Sala's little clip of his press conference.
I don't know why he's not.
I don't know why Hassan Reddick hasn't showed up. The reason we traded him is because he wanted a contract. And I'm going to say this right now. Hassan Reddick deserves a new contract.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
The guy had the 2nd most sacks and the most pressures in a 2-year span in the NFL and wasn't even paid in the top 15 of edge rushers. Top 15, not top 5, not top 10, not even in the top 15. So he was due for a pay raise. Howie looked at the market and said, what if I pay A.J. Brown, Landon Dickerson, and Devontae Smith instead of paying Reddick this monumental deal? Because edge rushers make a lot of money. I can get an up-and-coming guy in Bryce Huff for less money, less wear on the tires, and then we could trade him. So they traded him. And I said on this podcast, if the trade would make sense, I first need to see the contract the Jets give him.
Yeah.
The Jets haven't given him a contract yet. So that organization kind of put the cart before the horse. Like, oh, wow.
How are you going to trade for this guy and not have a contract already ready?
Typically, you see that in sports to where there's someone that wants a pay raise. If you're trading for him, you see like Adam Schefter says, they're sending a 3rd and a 4th round pick to the Oakland Raiders. And then 10 seconds later, this person has agreed to a 4-year, $88 million contract, something like that, because it's, hey, in good faith, if we trade for you, we're giving you this extension, because why trade for a guy that wants a contract if you're not getting him a contract? So you're just trading for a guy on the last. It's not even the trade deadline. This is the offseason. You make those moves at the trade deadline, trading for a guy with 1 year left on his deal so you can make a run at the Super Bowl.
What are you doing, Joe Douglas? What are you doing?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like we give these GMs a lot of credit sometimes, and right now it's looking good. So you got to look at it 2 ways. Either Hassan Reddick is disgruntled, playing on the last year of a really bad team-friendly contract, or he gets an insane mega deal that we weren't going to pay anyway. And the Jets kind of screw themselves in a little bit of a cap variety there. So either way, it's looking good for the Eagles. It's trending in that direction.
Yeah, no, it's obviously Eagles fans are pretty happy to see that he wasn't reporting, because it's just like, hey, it makes you feel a little bit better. Everybody that was like still a little apprehensive about the fact that we got rid of him makes you feel a little better. Makes it be like, well, I mean, let's be fair. Like Hurts's cap's going to be going up as the way his contract was made. Like we're going to be running out of cap room here shortly. You know, now we have him off the books and he's going to be signing on for a much deserved extension that we all agree deserves to get paid more. But no, you definitely kind of had a little smirk when I read that that Hassan didn't show up to practice. And then I don't know why he's not here. Really? Yeah. You don't.
Yeah, you're either lying or the dumbest coach in the NFL. That's one of the two. That's all there is right there at that point. I mean, and you guys would probably agree. You see what the receiver market is doing right now, right? Like, do you think A.J. Brown would have shown up? I mean, Smitty's agent probably would have had him not show up. We got both of those guys in before the wave. We got Landon Dickerson in before the guard wave. I mean,
Ilata in. You got everybody.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah. And then you look like a team that we always talk about, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, they're probably going to pay Tua too. They're probably going to pay Trevor Lawrence too. And his money is going to go up. By the time Jamar Chase gets paid and Brandon Ayuk get paid, CeeDee Lamb is going to cost
$75 billion.
And then Michael Parsons is going to be sitting back like this, like, you guys got any of that money left for me, or what are we doing? Do you think
Mike is coming to Philadelphia?
You think I'm showing up to camp? So yeah, I just think there's a way to do it and a way to not do it. Getting in ahead of it. I mean, Doc, you could almost tie it to the medical field, right? If you're having a problem in your knee, we talked about loose bodies with Marsh. We talked about if you're having an issue, or just one of these pitchers that's having get it done now. Get in before you have to wait halfway through, then miss another year. Get it done quicker, sooner than later, so you can get ahead of the game. And I think that's what the Eagles do well and the Cowboys don't.
Well, that's Painter right there, right?
Andrew Painter, perfect. Yep.
Waited, and now he lost another season. Yeah, I think he's learned about timing, and he's very good at managing teams, and that's a skill that you just comes with experience and obviously making mistakes. I mean, I think he's learned from his mistakes. He's not making he's not doing the same things he did 7 years ago. Or if he does, he fixes the problem. Yeah. And this way you could pay a running back, which is out of character for him.
Seriously.
And now he's got a stud because he didn't have
linebackers next, baby. Let's go.
Something back there.
And McCaffrey just gotten
bro, $19 million a year, 2 years.
2 years.
I mean, as somebody that owns him in a dynasty football league, I'm like, all right, let's go. Still got some. They obviously value him if they're paying him that much. Like they're going to be still using him a ton.
Well, they have the luxury of not having to pay a quarterback.
Yeah.
Last year that they have that luxury.
Right. So they figured, and now it's a do or die, for Purdy. If not, and I think they're looking at it like, yeah, we have another year to figure out if he's our man or not. So yeah, they're in a pretty good position.
And the way you look at it too is the teams are gambling with that too, right? Because the Cowboys gambled with Dak, and then as much as we hate the Cowboys, as much as we hate Dak, he put together the best season of his career, and so basically saying, hey, I'm on the tail end of my
regular season of his career.
CeeDee Lamb put together the best season of his career too. So it's like you gambled on not paying these guys early, and then they went and balled out of control, setting franchise records. You have no choice but to pay them or let them walk away from your franchise. You're screwed either way.
Give them 70 apiece. 70 apiece.
You're screwed either way. It's so crazy.
But that's like with Joe Flacco, when he didn't take that extension, they wound up and won the Super Bowl, and now you got to pay him like a top 5 quarterback, and he really wasn't. So they had to pay him a lot of money for that, and I think it's a gamble, and unfortunately, it paid off for both those guys, and now Jerry's got to do something.
Seriously. No, I play a lot of poker, and I loved Jerry Jones's all-in comment and everything because he's like, yeah, we're all in. And I'm like, you're the guy, you're the short stack at the table that you go and you go, all right, I'm all in. And everybody looks over at you, and it's like 3% of everybody else's stack. And you're like, whoa, all in. Whoa, look at this cool guy over here. It's betting $17.45. Meanwhile, we got stacks of 300 plus. It's like, all right, cool. You're all in. But how much do you have in the bank? And right now, you don't got jack shit in the bank. And you're all in. Cool. Eric Kendricks, what a guy.
Have you guys seen Austin Powers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When he's playing blackjack at the table, and obviously he's trying to eyeball the guy, and his opponent has 20, and then he comes out with 7, and he goes, "I'll stay." And then the dealer says, "I suggest you hit, sir." And he goes, "I like to live dangerously." He's like, "Okay, 20 beats 7." He's like, "All right." That's Jerry Jones going, "Yeah, I'll stay. I like to live dangerously." Like, okay, now you can't afford these guys. So you told us. I mean,
cool, Jerry.
Yeah.
You gotta love it. No, nothing rounds out a good episode like a little just trashing the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, look,
obviously they're still going to be a pretty successful team this year.
They've had their success in basketball and hockey, Dallas, and they won the World Series last year.
Yeah.
So I have zero sympathy for anybody in Texas.
But then again, Doc, are we sure that the Cowboys fans are?
Yeah, most of the people in Dallas don't.
Well, I'm talking about the people that actually live in.
You might be looking at the Lakers or the Warriors there.
The Yankees.
Maybe a couple.
The Yankees are coming back, so they'll be happy.
Jeez, Matt Strom, the best reliever in baseball, starting off back-to-back singles in the 9th.
Something like this had to give because we tied it up. We have a horrible offense today. We tie it up, and of course, our best reliever is probably gonna.
No, he's getting out of it. He's getting out of it. He's like Wheeler with the bases loaded, nobody out, dealing.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And I do have to say, when you guys brought up Painter, every time that since we had Ben Silver on and we talked about once they re-sign Ranger and get rid of Taiwan and bring up Painter, just thinking of that 5-man rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, Painter, you're just like, man, that's disgustingly good.
That'll play.
But that's a short window. 2 words. Just remember this. Tim Lincecum.
Yeah.
That
Big
guy's
time Timmy
Painter's
Jim.
going to be spectacular for about 4 or 5 years, and then he's going to fall off a cliff, is what I think.
That's fine. Give me 4
I
years
know,
of
I'm saying
Ranger.
it's a small window.
Yeah,
but
I'm like, you don't see a whole lot of pitchers signing these. Like, you see the position players, the 10, 13-year deals. You don't see pitchers often getting anything more than 5.
No, I'm just saying, just based on body mechanics and what he's been through. And I hope that's not the case. But, just seeing him, it makes me worried that he doesn't have, he's going to be prone to injuries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, he's just, hopefully not. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's why they're taking their time, making sure he's 100% before they get him back out.
Look,
there.
give me a Cy Young this year. Re-sign him, and then we can go from there. But I got good money on Ranger Cy Young, so give me that Cy Young.
Yeah.
Let's cash it in, cash it out. Check, there isn't a cash out option yet, but
he's only going to miss. I think he's only going to miss 1 start.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be back.
Good.
Man, this is rough. 1st and 3rd for the Brewers, and here comes Reese. Here comes Reese up to the plate.
Oh, no. Don't ground into a double play like you did in the 2nd inning. No, Reese, please don't.
I would love it, but this has kind of like drama written all over it, if you ask me.
0-2 count. He got ahead of him early.
Oh, you're ahead of me, you son of a
Uh-oh,
bitch.
I'll be quiet.
If it's good, I want you to tell me.
All right. Well, you know what I want you to tell me?
My final thought.
I do want to hear that.
My final thought is Phillies bats, please wake up. I need Harper. I need June Schwarber. Give me June Schwarber. That's my final thought. I need June Schwarber.
Bring it on, Doc.
My final thought is that I hope that mandatory OTAs translate to success late in the season next year.
I like it.
Versus the the Hollywood schedule they had last off season.
I like it. Reese Hoskins struck out. Call him.
You got one more, baby. Get one more, Strami.
Matt Pastrami just mowing him down. He's got Sanchez 0 for 3 tonight with 2 Ks. My final thought, sign Ranger Suarez long term. Semi long term.